I'm Ryan Yamamoto. This is a minute. Former president and newly convicted felon Donald Trump will be in San Francisco today. He'll attend a fundraiser at the Pacific Heights mansion of billionaire tech investor David Sachs. Tickets range from $50,000 to $500,000. Sentencing today in the deadly shooting of a Home Depot loss prevention officer. Benicia Knapp's recently reached a plea deal along with an alleged accomplice. Prosecutors say Knapp's killed Blake Mose in Pleasanton last year after he confronted her about shoplifting. Mayor London Breed's move to bring pandas to San Francisco is up for debate at City Hall today. The city needs to raise $25 million to care for and house the animals at the San Francisco Zoo. Groups opposing the plan are expected to speak at today's meeting. I'm Ryan Yamamoto, and this is The Minute.
The big weather story for us this week had to do with that heat wave the past couple days that brought in triple digits throughout our East Bay and well above average temperatures no matter where you lived. But that area of high pressure is moving away. It's getting replaced with cooler weather into this weekend and some cloudier skies. So that June gloom that we missed so much, it's right around the corner as we head into this weekend's forecast. But taking a look at today, down in the southwest, they're still dealing with a lot of triple digits. Anywhere from Las Vegas over into Barstow, Death Valley at 121 degrees. And closer to us, Sacramento's topping off at 100, just like what we saw yesterday for areas like Concord, all the way over into Antioch and down into Livermore. But as we take a look at our East Bay this afternoon, this is a lot more bearable. That heat wave is moving away, and we're seeing 80s in the East Bay from Concord over into Livermore, Antioch at the warmest spot this afternoon, sitting at 92 degrees. Now, along our coastline, we were dealing with average conditions all week long. Today, we're in the upper 50s near Half Moon Bay. We see 90s and 80s down into the Santa Clara Valley, but I want to dive into what's happening right around the corner. We now know we're going to see some cloudier skies, right? Heading into this weekend, you'll notice that in our inland areas as early as Saturday and Sunday with 80s in the forecast at that point. Those clouds will roll away as we head into early next week, and we'll see some warmer conditions, more upper 80s and lower 90s right around the corner. That's still not what we had yesterday. And as we take a look at our friends along the bay, we'll notice a similar trend, a little bit of a cool down into this weekend to kick it off with a little bit more clouds in the forecast too. Now, once we head into the afternoon hours, it usually bleeds off, but that June gloom lasts in the morning, and then we'll see sunnier skies as early as next Tuesday.
Well, firefighters now gaining the upper hand on a wildfire in wine country. The Crystal Fire is burning northeast of St. Helena, all in the area of the 2020 Glass Fire. 4 firefighters were injured during the firefight because of the heat, and today CAL FIRE said all those firefighters have been treated and released. That fire broke out yesterday afternoon. The wind pushed the flames up a hillside toward buildings and homes.
Beyond grateful. I just sat on the other side of the Silverado Trail with the dogs in the car for like 2 hours just watching, just wondering if we were going to have a home to come home to. So very grateful, and thank you to everyone who helped.
This wildfire is the largest of the year in the North Bay. And with the wildfire season just beginning, NASA researchers are developing new drone technology to keep our community safe when fires spark up. Our Mary Lee got a look at what it does and how could it help with some disastrous wildfires.
As we enter into wildfire season, NASA researchers are using their advanced aviation technology to help our Bay Area communities stay safe from devastating wildfires.
It's very personal for me. I grew up in California, and in my lifetime, I've seen the effects of these fires really impact people I care about.
For Catherine Chapman, intense wildfires are a very real thing.
I've seen lots of family members have to evacuate, or sometimes had to pack up the car and get ready to head out myself because the fire was moving closer.
That experience motivates her work at NASA, helping firefighters battle monster wildfires using drones.
I'm taking you over to the mobile kit that's used to visualize airspace. This was developed in a previous NASA Ames project, and we're using it today to look at the airspace.
Checking in with the range safety officer that we are clear to fly in this area. And Rick, you're good?
I'm good.
All right. Launching. Right. Vehicles in the air.
The U.S. Forest Service is currently using drones to identify, monitor, and capture thermal images of wildfires in real time. But soon, Catherine's work will help first responders use drones for so much more.
Caution. Warning.
So while we're doing operations, we have audible signal in case some aircraft come in too close.
NASA's Advanced Capabilities for Emergency Response Operations, or ASERO, is creating air traffic control software for first responders in their wildfire coordination and operations, improving communication and situational awareness for both drones and aircraft in emergency airspace, with the goal to fight wildfires with actual drone Firehawk-style helicopters 24/7 at night and in heavy smoke, where it was once unsafe for aircraft to fly before.
Ultimately, it's incredibly important to me to be involved with projects like this that are having a real influence on things that are close to me and close to where I live.
For Catherine, her work is extremely rewarding, knowing her research will one day soon save our homes and lives.
Caution.
Well, that drone is still in the development stages. Scientists plan to demonstrate it with firefighters as early as this fall. Stay with us for continuing coverage on the Crystal Fire, and we'll keep you updated on air and on our website, kpix.com, and streaming on the free CBS News app. In the South Bay, police and animal control are trying to crack down on a mountain lion that they've seen roaming in people's yards in South San Jose. Several people reported spotted the cougar last night in the area of Ella Drive and War Memorial or War Admiral Way. Authorities are warning everyone who lives there to stay inside with their pets and to call 911 if they see the mountain lion.
Call it a rebirth. Call it a revival. These are the Ballers, a new pro baseball team. Built by Oakland. All right, Ballers, let's go. Built for Oakland.
Well, the Oakland Ballers return to the field tonight for the third home game of the inaugural season. History will be made on the diamond this evening. Kelsey Whitmore will become the first female player to start a game in the Pioneer League history. We met with Whitmore back in 2016 when she first played for the Sonoma Stompers, and now you can see her with the Bees tonight. It comes after the Ballers got back in the win column last night. They beat the Yolo High Wheelers 4-1 for their first win ever at Raimondi Park. And our Sean Chitness and Gianna Franco are at the park virtually from our VR set.
So the return of the baseball to Raimondi Park is really a rebirth for a place that has a lot of history, Sean.
Yeah, so our Devin Feely shows us how the Ballers are following in the footsteps of some legendary players. Take a look.
The area is full of baseball history. Kurt Flood was a fabulous baseball player. Frank Robinson.
On the batter is Frank Robinson.
My favorite player of all time.
Pitch to Robinson. Swung on as a walk back to left field. It is in there from base hit up against the face of the wall.
Is in the Hall of Fame.
Robinson twisted a liner to left field, which skipped up against the face of that wall.
The grass may be new, but the roots of baseball, of sports, and social activism run deep at Raimondi Field.
Just standing here, I feel a special bond with baseball.
Marty Lurie, baseball historian and Giants postgame announcer, says a talented trio of outfielders from Oakland's McClymonds High put Raimondi on the map. Veda Pinson, Kurt Flood, and Frank Robinson.
Amazingly, some of those players turned out to be some of the best players in Major League history.
Robinson won 2 World Series with the Orioles in '66 and '70 and was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Kurt Flood is best known as the father of free agency for his Supreme Court battle against Major League Baseball after he was traded late in his career to the Phillies.
Kurt Flood said, I don't want to go to the Phillies. You can't do that. I'm not a slave. I'm not indentured. Yes, I have a contract, but it doesn't mean I'm with you for life. So he protested.
Flood's activism may have been watered by the efforts of an earlier generation. During the Second World War, Raimondi Field was also home to the A-26 Boilermakers, a group of African-American ball players who worked in the nearby naval shipyards.
They were fighting both racism in baseball and racism in their own employment.
Lincoln Cushing is a retired historian and archivist. He says the park's rich history is also fertile ground for the future.
During World War II, this was a pivotal period and a pivotal spot for transformation in American society. So it's wonderful to see this revitalization.
Rebuild it and they will come. Both Lincoln and Lurie say they're glad to see the park's storied history preserved, this diamond in the roughest part of town, given another chance to shine.
That's what this field represents. When you step on it, you step on legacy when you step on this field. And that's what I feel, honestly, in my heart today.
I mean, Marty put it perfectly there. It's all about legacy and history, and so much of that already in Oakland when it comes to that area and Raimondi Park.
And when you are starting a new chapter, when you are writing a new story, how cool to know that that legacy is the foundation there that you can build that on. I also just want to point out that we're here in our super cool virtual set. There is no drinking fountain here, though, so I had to run out and get some water while I was trying to figure out my throat. But otherwise, it's as if we were right there.
Yes, and you're okay now,
yes.
Thankfully.
And remember, you can watch tomorrow night's game between the Ballers and the YOLO High Whalers on our sister station, Pix Plus 44 Cable 12, starting at 6:30. We will bring you all the Friday night home games through the end of August. And still ahead on CBS News, Bay Area employees putting in long hours of work and not getting paid. We investigate the problem of wage theft and what the state is not doing or doing to protect you. Plus,
I'm here at the Mission Cultural Center for Latino Arts, one of the places offering opportunities for young people impacted by crime and violence. And now the DA says more help is on the way. More details coming up.
and he was a journalist and a pioneer. We continue our Pride Month celebration by highlighting the first openly gay reporter at the San Francisco Chronicle.
People would throw things at him or spit at him or yell at him or, whatever. So.
Every swing tells a story. Baseball's royal roots, it's an authentic Oakland glory, where every pitch paints the shadow of a dream, where every base on the diamond unites a city and a team. See, they call them the Ballers, but don't take it from me. Batter up just once and soon you'll see on these streets, every swing tells a story.
This is Oakland Ballers baseball.
So welcome to the Ballers, your newest hometown story.
was a hot day yesterday, and it's still warm for us as we head into this afternoon. That heat wave that swept throughout the Bay Area and all of California is moving off into the east. We're still left with upper 80s and lower 90s off into the East Bay, but at least it's not the triple digits we had yesterday. Down into the Santa Clara Valley, one of our warmer spots, Los Gatos topping off at 90 degrees. You're going to see a big difference in that community as we head into the next couple days. We continue to average out as we head into our weekend forecast. 50s and 60s in the forecast for us along the coast, with 70s and 80s all throughout our inland areas.
In San Francisco, police are investigating an act of vandalism at City Hall as a hate crime. Walls were covered and taped off after city workers arrived to work yesterday morning. They found racist and sexist graffiti plastered along the building. The culprit still at large, but Mayor London Breed said there is surveillance footage of that crime.
And we will never tolerate any discourse or any hate like what we are experiencing now through this harmful, the harmful words that have been sprayed onto City Hall's front door. I deal with this every day, whether it's, things that have said on social media, as well as emails that I received that describe me as exactly what was on this wall, or even in front of my own home.
Police Chief Bill Scott promised to work with the Sheriff's Office to bring the vandals to justice. San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins has announced a new program that will focus on the prevention of youth crime. This comes after an increase in crimes committed by victims under the age of 18 from 2022 to 2023.
Yes, having to have accountability, of course, we have to in society, but making sure that we balance that with what it takes to transform this system that we know has been unfair and has disproportionately impacted certain communities.
Our Jose Martinez met with a group in the Mission District that's helping teens impacted by a life of crime, now leading them to a life of success.
I'm here at the Mission Cultural Center for Latino Arts, one of the places offering opportunities for young people impacted by crime and violence. And now the DA says more help is underway. Bianca Vasquez, a 22-year-old intern at the Mission Cultural Center for Latino Arts, is one of many benefiting from youth programs in San Francisco.
I think it's great because it's giving a lot of youth, especially starting at the age of 16, which we know a lot of teens tend to start to really rebel, go into gangs, stay in the streets, have their really teen angsty stuff go on.
She tells me this program has changed her life because she was able to find some guidance through this opportunity while going through personal issues that ended up forcing her to drop out of college.
Is to get out of that cycle of continuation of the drugs, the violence, the gangs, and to spew off getting out that crab bucket of negativity and just sprout into something more and become stronger. That's what I really appreciate with these youth programs.
Martina Ayala is the executive director of this center. She tells me Bianca made it all the way here through a partnership with the Bay Area Community Resources.
For us to be able to have paid interns through programs that have been funded to provide youth and redirect youth and provide them with opportunities other than, it's a wonderful thing for us.
But Bianca's story is not unique. Many young people in the Bay Area are in need of similar help. That's why this Wednesday, San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins announced that major initiative to address this need, the Access to Hope Initiative.
So many people end up in the criminal justice system because they are hopeless, and so they end up making poor choices because they feel they have nothing to lose. And so the goal is to provide opportunities for engagement, career exploration for our youth and our young adults so that they can feel that they have a chance to ascend to something above the circumstances that they are currently in.
The DA says applications are open. Take a look at this website where young people between the ages of 14 and 24 can go right now and take advantage of experiences like a shadow day at the DA's office. This effort comes as the number of victims of crime under the age of 18 served by the Victim Services Division has significantly increased in the past year.
We are seeing that they are being victimized more and more. We know that with the drug crisis going on, amongst other things, that they're being exposed to situations that, could have a negative influence on their lives as people openly use drugs, often in San Francisco. We know that there are challenges within our public school system here.
That's why Bianca tells me that now there's a beacon of hope through these programs, showing that with the right support, young lives can positively redirect.
To know that it is available until you're the age of 24 to 25, that's a big opportunity. Why would you miss that?
And Bianca tells me she's definitely going to pursue a career in arts after having this experience.
Well, recent data shows a 29% increase in victims 12 and under and a 45% increase in those between 13 and 17. The Access to Hope program aims to help redirect them towards better opportunities. Still ahead, as we celebrate Pride Month, we're going to introduce you to the Chronicle's first openly gay journalists who covered and documented how the gay community helped shape the city of San Francisco today.
Now you can get your KPIX news, weather, and live stream all in one place on the CBS News app. Download it free today.
Many of the fans can't shake the feeling of sadness.
It was like a death in the family.
It's sad that I won't be able to bring my kid to the Coliseum.
And it really breaks my heart.
These are the Ballers, a new pro baseball team. Built by Oakland. All right, Ballers, let's go. Built for Oakland. Oakland baseball is live right here on Pitch Plus.
was a hot day yesterday in our inland areas. We got all the way up to 100 degrees in communities like Antioch, Concord, all the way over into Walnut Creek and down into Livermore. But as we take a look at this afternoon, goodness, we're only talking about 80s and 90s in the forecast in those two areas with 50s along the coast. So it still stays mild along our coastline and along the peninsula up into San Francisco this afternoon with 60s in sight today there and 60s across the Bay Bridge over into Oakland. This is a lot more normal for us, and we're going to continue to see more normal conditions as we head into the next couple days. Daytime highs are starting to cool off as we head into our weekend forecast, and we'll see a return of that June gloom, cloudy setup as we head into our weekend too. Today we're talking about 80s and sunshine near San Jose though, and watch what happens in our inland areas just within the next 7 days. We average out as we head into this weekend's forecast, and then we get a little bit of a warm up as we head into early next week. We'll also notice that warm up for our friends who live along the bay too. Areas like Oakland and San Francisco will cool down into the 60s and 70s by this weekend. Partly cloudy skies still lingering into early next week, and we'll see sunnier skies with 70s by Tuesday.
What is Pride Month? And it's time to celebrate the LGBTQ community and history. And so much of that history happened right here in San Francisco. And if you wanted to know more about how gay rights shaped the city, you could read The Mayor of Castro Street. The book covered the times of Harvey Milk, written by Randy Shilts. If you wanted to learn more about the arrival of AIDS and how San Francisco and the entire country responded to the disease, there is And the Band Played On, also written by Randy Shilts. And then there was The Battle Over Gays in the Military, chronicled in Conduct Unbecoming. Once again, written by San Francisco Chronicle reporter Randy Shilts. The man not only wrote 3 monumental books chronicling gay history, he was in the middle of it, often drawing criticism from all directions. Wilson Walker on the groundbreaking reporter whose legacy drives discussion to this day.
I think it's also more kind of age from being out in the sun. So it's an old book, let's say that.
Off the shelves in his living room, David Tuller has pulled an old copy of History, the landmark book on America's troubled response to AIDS, and the work of his former colleague at the San Francisco Chronicle.
So, I mean, he was obviously a pioneer. He was, out very early and out as a journalist from the beginning, and I think did, amazing work that way.
I've always tried to report on things that would not be covered if I didn't do it.
Randy Shilts, the first openly gay journalist at the Chronicle, would ultimately produce 3 monumental books on LGBT history and rights, and at the center of that work was his coverage of an epidemic.
Well, it's very difficult when it's also your own community and the people that are dying and getting sick, and you don't know yourself, what your situation is, or maybe you do.
Randy and I talked about this a lot because we were both openly gay, working in the mainstream media and covering the biggest story to hit the gay community, which was AIDS.
Retired KPIX political reporter Hank Plant says covering the crisis was inevitably personal, while publicly it was often controversial, and that was something Shilts was not afraid of.
Where Randy started doing stories that were advocating closing the gay bathhouses and sex clubs, and people in the gay community were calling him a traitor in print. In the gay newspapers. And eventually the health department did close the bathhouses. It was a tool they used. Did it save people's lives? Probably.
And there would be more controversy, specifically the suspense thriller element of And the Band Played On, suggesting one single patient was largely responsible for bringing AIDS to the United States.
Well, this new book, Michael Lee's book about Randy Shilts, does put to rest the whole notion of patient zero.
I know Randy himself had expressed some regrets to others about including that story as the book was getting ready to be published. And it's unfortunate that that was the hook.
Michael Lee's upcoming biography looks at the entire life of Randy Shilts and his lasting imprint on LGBT history.
And I'm hoping that with this book, it captures more of that complexity in a way that actually portrays the full human that he was. I think that he has a very substantial and complicated legacy, and I think that that legacy still plays out today.
Writing his obituary was a challenge because, you couldn't deny that there was controversy. And, I got some angry response later from some people about that it was too nice, or it should have been much more critical.
It's not bad people who get AIDS, it's just people who get AIDS.
Randy Shilts, just 42 years old, died of AIDS in February of 1994, and his funeral drew anti-gay activists from across the country. 30 years later, his legacy is still very much a part of San Francisco, a pioneer who worked to save lives when many others refused to listen, even if it meant angering those in his own community.
He was a great old-fashioned gumshoe reporter, and he was obsessive. He never took no for an answer. He didn't care about being liked, which is important if you're going to be a successful reporter, and we were lucky to have him. The real tragedy, of course, is that 30 years ago right now, Randy died from the disease that he was warning everybody else about. That's a real heartbreak.
You know, but Randy would talk about having, you know, difficulty, you know, walking down the Castro, and people would throw things at him or spit at him or yell at him or, you know, whatever. So I think at some point he sort of felt like, you know, gay persona non grata, you know, in the Castro. But he did what he felt he, you know, was right to do. And, you know, I think he was, you know, I think very courageous that way, and I think deserved a lot of credit for that. Whether one agreed with him or not.
Randy Shilts has a plaque on the Castro's Rainbow Honor Walk. It was placed here in 2014 and in a pretty great spot just a few steps from Harvey Milk's old camera store. The book on his life is due out on October 6th.
And San Francisco official Pride kickoff party is tomorrow night. It finishes with the big parade on Sunday, June 30th. And we're bringing you stories like this all throughout June. You'll be able to find them on our website at kpix.com. Coming up in our next half hour in CBS News Bay Area, getting paid for your work seems simple, but many Californians aren't getting their full paycheck. Our investigation looks into the growing problem of wage theft. Plus, 80 years later, she wears those polka dots proudly. Meet one of the Bay Area's Rosie the Riveters, who hopes her work during World War II will inspire future generations.
I hope that we're giving a message to the young people, and especially girls, that you're not handicapped. You don't have to walk 2 steps behind a guy.
Call it a rebirth. Call it a revival. These are the Ballers.
The Ballers!
A new pro baseball team. Built by Oakland.
This is Oakland Ballers baseball.
Built for Oakland.
All right, Ballers, let's go.
Broadcasting free to the Bay. This summer, Oakland baseball is live right here on Pitch Plus.
Pitch Plus.
44 Cable 12.
Ryan Yamamoto. This is the Minute Breaking News. The state Supreme Court just ruled that UC Berkeley can build student housing at People's Park. The long legal battle led to years of protests and arrests at the historic Berkeley landmark. Park activists sued to try to stop that housing project. Former President Donald Trump will be in San Francisco today raising money for his 2024 presidential campaign. Trump is expected to attend a fundraiser at the Pacific Heights mansion of billionaire tech investor David Sacks. Tickets range from $50,000 to $500,000. Crews have managed to contain 75% of the crystal fire in the wine country. The fire broke out yesterday afternoon near the site of the 2020 glass fire. The blaze northeast of St. Helena sent 4 firefighters to the hospital. They've all been treated and released. Bay Area's only primetime newscast 8 to 9 p.m. on the all-new Pix Plus 44 Cable 12.
The big weather story for us this week had to do with that heat wave the past couple days that brought in triple digits throughout our East Bay and well above average temperatures no matter where you lived. But that area of high pressure is moving away. It's getting replaced with cooler weather into this weekend and some cloudier skies. So that June gloom that we missed so much, it's right around the corner as we head into this weekend's forecast. But taking a look at today, down in the southwest, they're still dealing with a lot of triple digits. Anywhere from Las Vegas over into Barstow, Death Valley at 121 degrees. And closer to us, Sacramento's topping off at 100, just like what we saw yesterday for areas like Concord, all the way over into Antioch and down into Livermore. But as we take a look at our East Bay this afternoon, this is a lot more bearable. That heat wave is moving away, and we're seeing 80s in the East Bay from Concord over into Livermore, Antioch at the warmest spot this afternoon, sitting at 92 degrees. Now, along our coastline, we were dealing with average conditions all week long. Today, we're in the upper 50s near Half Moon Bay. We see 90s and 80s down into the Santa Clara Valley, but I want to dive into what's happening right around the corner. We now know we're going to see some cloudier skies, right? Heading into this weekend, you'll notice that in our inland areas as early as Saturday and Sunday with 80s in the forecast at that point. Those clouds will roll away as we head into early next week, and we'll see some warmer conditions, more upper 80s and lower 90s right around the corner. That's still not what we had yesterday. And as we take a look at our friends along the bay, we'll notice a similar trend, a little bit of a cool down into this weekend to kick it off with a little bit more clouds in the forecast too. Now, once we head into the afternoon hours, it usually bleeds off, but that June gloom lasts in the morning, and then we'll see sunnier skies as early as next Tuesday.
Well, imagine putting in long hours of work but then not getting paid. It's called wage theft. CBS News California investigative correspondent Julie Watts first exposed just how bad the problem is here. She's back with what the state is and is not doing to protect you.
From car wash workers to construction, in-home health care and child care to retail and restaurants. Have a good day. Wage theft is a costly crime in California. The most common victims, low-wage workers, often women, immigrants, and people of color.
So for 17 years, you never got a raise. Nunca me aumentaron siempre.
This is a photo of Eloisa's kids when she began working at a local Jack in the Box franchise. These are her kids today. Her daughter now drops her off at work because Eloisa still can't afford her own car.
Muy difícil. Very hard.
She says she loves her job at Jack in the Box, but after 17 years of loyalty, all while making minimum wage, she says she just learned she was legally entitled to take breaks.
Wage theft comes in many forms. Maybe an employer asks you to work off the clock, takes your tips, doesn't pay you overtime or for missed breaks. Eloisa estimates her unpaid wage claims over just the past 3 years would be enough to buy her own car.
Para mí es mucho.
But our investigation found backlogs at the Labor Commissioner's office so severe that Eloisa may never be able to collect. You see, when wage theft victims file a claim, the Labor Commissioner's office legally has 30 days to schedule a conference with your employer and 120 days to hold a hearing if you can't agree. But our Cal Matters collaboration found the median wait time was more than a year, and most people never get paid even after they win their case.
Frustrante.
Well, now the state auditor is confirming our findings, blaming inadequate staffing and poor oversight for making the state's most vulnerable workers wait 6 times longer than the law allows for an estimated $63.9 million in combined unpaid wages. Even after waiting years for a ruling in their case, only 12% of workers ever get paid. The auditor is now recommending lawmakers take action, requiring annual progress reports from the Labor Commissioner, along with 22 other recommendations, ranging from properly training staff to speeding up its wage claim determinations. which for people like Eloisa can't come soon enough.
Well, the Labor Commissioner's office said it acknowledges and accepts the audit recommendations and is already working towards implementing them. Meanwhile, now 2 years after we first interviewed Eloise, she's still waiting for a hearing. 80 years ago today, Allied forces stormed the beaches of France. The invasion by American, British, and Canadian troops was a crucial turning point that led to the defeat of the Nazis nearly a year later. This morning, crowds gathered on those same sands for reenactments. This is likely the last major commemoration for veterans who took part in the actual invasion. Most are now around 100 years old. President Joe Biden is among the world leaders at today's ceremonies, marking what turned out to be the beginning of the end of World War II.
The celebration started when we liberated each town.
It evokes memories of a very special day for me, when I first realized the true horror of war, I suppose.
In the meantime, French authorities are investigating a Monday night explosion in a hotel room near the main airport in the Paris region. Police arrested an unnamed 26-year-old man who was badly burned in the explosion. The suspect is from Russian-occupied Donbas region of Ukraine. Police say he is cooperating. It's not clear if there is a connection to the D-Day events. And while they were not on the battlefield back at home, millions of Rosies jumped in on the front lines at shipyards and factories. Among them was Marion Sose, who worked at the Richmond shipyards. And as she told Amanda Harry, she hopes the Rosies' contributions will inspire future generations.
And this is shipyard number 3.
98-year-old Marion Suzé still embodies the Rosie the Riveter image, 80 years after she worked in the Richmond shipyards.
My years as a draftsman, that's what made me a Rosie.
That time is still a major part of her life. In her home, a room dedicated to Rosie the Riveter.
This was last year's book.
And everything she has accomplished because of her time working.
Vice President.
Suzé moved to the Bay Area in 1942 when she was just 16 years old. She met her husband, enrolled in Richmond High School, and got married. After graduating, she took a 6-week engineering drawing course at UC Berkeley, where she learned to draw blueprints.
I was hired right out of the classroom to go to shipyard number 3 in the engineering department as a draftsman.
She worked on blueprints that created ships that would fight in seaborne invasions, similar to the ones used on June 6, 1944, D-Day. Professor of history at Cal State East Bay, Jessica Weiss, says D-Day was a watershed battle for the Allies in Europe during World War II. But while the men were fighting overseas, Rosies like Suzé were working at home.
The war effort on the home front was a woman's effort.
Weiss says women were making significant contributions, manufacturing ammunition, aircrafts, and ships, like Suzé. It was the beginning of women growing within the workforce.
Despite the fact that women were first fired after the war, you never really saw a step down in women's employment again.
Suzé still volunteers several times a month at the Rosie the Riveter Museum in Richmond.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
She says when World War II began, everyone wanted to help. She says many of the women didn't realize the impact they were having, but she's glad they did it.
I hope that we're giving a message to the young people, and especially girls, that you're not handicapped. You don't have to walk 2 steps behind a guy. It's not a man's world anymore.
Suzé may be slowing down now, but she's grateful that other women are carrying the baton and continuing to shatter the glass ceiling.
Suzé is not traveling anywhere this year. She's marking the 80th anniversary at D-Day in the comfort of her home. Up next, it's a different kind of solar farm where panels share space with sheep. The new project making green energy more accessible to an unlikely part of the bay.
was a hot day yesterday, and it's still warm for us as we head into this afternoon. That heat wave that swept throughout the Bay Area and all of California is moving off into the east. We're still left with upper 80s and lower 90s off into the East Bay, but at least it's not the triple digits we had yesterday. Down into the Santa Clara Valley, one of our warmer spots, Los Gatos topping off at 90 degrees. You're going to see a big difference in that community as we head into the next couple days. We continue to average out as we head into our weekend forecast. 50s and 60s in the forecast for us along the coast, with 70s and 80s all throughout our inland areas.
Well, those earthquake alerts you get on your phone are improving. The state's MyShake app will now use GPS. The system previously relied on a network of ground-based seismometers, but now it's using GPS sensors. They can measure the strength of a quake from satellites in space. Scientists say the new data can more accurately determine the magnitude of larger earthquakes like the 1989 Loma Prieta quake.
Instead of measuring how fast the ground is moving, is what seismometers do, we are now measuring how far the ground moved, up, down, sideways. And what that translates into, potentially, is getting alerts to people faster.
Well, the early warning provides time to automatically stop trains, open doors at fire stations, or shut down pipelines, actions that can help save lives. On a hot day, you might not be thinking about how to lower those summer energy costs, or you might be thinking about it. And a major incentive for many is to go solar. But there's also been some challenges for the industry. In the last 2 years, state regulators voted to cut incentives for home rooftop solar installations, as well as for apartment and commercial buildings. And last week, the CPUC adopted new rules that critics worry will hurt efforts to expand community solar programs. Those are smaller scale projects designed to expand solar options for low-income customers. One new project is helping make green energy more accessible for people living in rural West Marin. Brian Hackney takes us to the farm where sheep share space with solar panels.
Come on, girl. Good girl. Come. Our family's been here for over 4 generations. We settled in here in the late 1890s. It's all grazing land. It's all beautiful rolling hills, grasslands, which are mostly sheep and cattle and some dairy farms. So this is home to me. This is where home is.
Joe Posey is a rancher in West Marin.
Way around. Good girl.
And one day he got an unusual call from Marin Clean Energy saying,
We have a local solar project here in Tamales.
Jamie Tuckey is their chief of staff.
It's a solar farm, and it's enough power for about 400 homes a year.
You have to learn to diversify in this business of agriculture. So I listen. First thing you got to do is listen and say, what are you up to? What are your plans?
The plan, to install enough solar panels to power 400 homes.
All over California, 40 projects that are similar size, some of them bigger, some of them smaller.
Artie Arian is CEO of Renewable America, which is planning and building these small solar farms.
We want to see more of these projects. So our intention is about 100 to 200 of these projects.
These small solar farms fill a niche in the rural green energy market, pouring 2 gigawatts of electricity into the nearby grid.
This is a win-win because we are getting green power through the solar panels for the area, but we are also using all this grassland that's underneath the panels for grazing. Come, Cass.
And that's where Joe comes in.
Where are they? Way around.
And Cassie.
She's my worker. She's the one that does everything for me. Huh.
That work is rounding up this herd of sheep.
She's a herder. Walk up. So she gathers them for me. Down. Right now I have 150 sheep in here on this small solar farm. This is a perennial ryegrass right here. It's a beautiful feed. They'll stay here for 2 to 3 weeks, grazing this grass down, and then I'll move them out.
It seems the perfect combo of preserving the land and catching some rays. This single project will take 19,000 pounds of emissions out of the atmosphere, equivalent to taking nearly 400 gas-powered cars off the road, while trying to meet California's ambitious carbon reduction targets.
So we come by 2045, 100% decarbonized and zero carbon free.
So it's a win-win, in my opinion.
And with 30% of electricity produced worldwide now coming from renewable projects like this, it's easy to see why some of the workers are smiling about finishing this one.
The project cost us over $2 million and took 4 years to finish. Coming up, a piece of TV history is up for sale in San Francisco. The asking price to buy, the iconic home from Full House.
was a hot day yesterday in our inland areas. We got all the way up to 100 degrees in communities like Antioch, Concord, all the way over into Walnut Creek and down into Livermore. But as we take a look at this afternoon, goodness, we're only talking about 80s and 90s in the forecast in those two areas with 50s along the coast. So it still stays mild along our coastline and along the peninsula up into San Francisco this afternoon with 60s in sight today there and 60s across the Bay Bridge over into Oakland. This is a lot more normal for us, and we're going to continue to see more normal conditions as we head into the next couple days. Daytime highs are starting to cool off as we head into our weekend forecast, and we'll see a return of that June gloom cloudy setup as we head into our weekend too. Today we're talking about 80s and sunshine near San Jose though, and watch what happens in our inland areas just within the next 7 days. We average out as we head into this weekend's forecast, and then we get a little bit of a warm up as we head into early next week. We'll also notice that warm up for our friends who live along the bay too. Areas like Oakland and San Francisco will cool down into the 60s and 70s by this weekend. Partly cloudy skies still lingering into early next week, and we'll see sunnier skies with 70s by Tuesday.
Well, you can get your fill of corn dogs, carnival rides, and games on the peninsula this week. The San Mateo County Fair is back for the 90th season. It's being held at the County Event Center on Saratoga Drive in San Mateo. You can see everything from live performances to, well, or a horn there, and to hog racing too. I can't forget about the food. And it isn't a county fair without a petting zoo. Of course not. Donkeys, alpacas, and goats, oh my. Speaking of goats, the owner of that petting zoo says one of them just became a first-time mom. Oh,
2 little females.
Little kids right there, right at the fair.
These little guys were born here yesterday in the San Mateo County Fair. We had 2 little females. We're still looking names for them, so if anybody has any suggestions, we'd be willing to hear them. They're Nigerian dwarfs, so they're miniature goats, and they're really friendly. They love a lot of attention, as you can see.
The goats, they should name them Curry and Clay. The fair runs through Sunday, June 9th from 11 a.m. through 10 p.m. Well, a famous home is officially on the market in San Francisco. The property that was once used to depict the front door and bay window of the Tanner home in the sitcom Full House is for sale. The iconic home in Pacific Heights has 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and you can now own a piece of TV sitcom history for only $6.5 million. Dear Lord. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. We'll be right back with First Alert Forecast and a look at your top stories.